Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Get that thing away from me, you guys. Put that thing back where it came from, or I'll poke myself in the eye. It's a work in progress. It's gonna get better.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show for the 15th of July 2013. I'm your host here for this evening, this part of the show, Andrew, and with me...
Papadum.
What?
Papadum. It's actually Stuart from Despicable Me and Despicable Me 2. There is 3 minions in Despicable Me. Stuart, Tim, and Dave. Stuart's the one with the one eye.
Tim, go do this. Go on, go now.
Yep. Papadum. And he says Papadum all the time.
Coming up on this show, we've got the latest box office from the UK box office top 10, bit of movie news, and these new releases.
Monsters vs. Robots in Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim. Find out how Mike and Sully became friends on Monsters University, and a small Irish horror film, Citadel.
Bottom. Yeah.
I don't know how many Despicable Me references we're going to get in this week.
Yeah, it's going to get old very quick.
Drinking game, there you go. If we do
yeah.
a Despicable Me reference, then you've got to take a drink.
But so let's go straight into some news. I'm just going to go. I've only got one piece of news, but you've got a whole load of them. So I'm just going to say quickly about Legendary Entertainment, who recently announced the end of their agreements to produce movies with Warner Brothers. Have announced after the 8 years working with Warner Brothers, they will be working now with Universal in a similar deal. Universal is said to be the front runner of a list of studios, including 20th Century Fox, Sony Pictures, and Lionsgate. Both Legendary and Warner Brothers still have movies coming out yet that they have been producing, and they will produce them through to their release, including they have their Godzilla remake, or reboot, I guess, a movie called Seventh Son, which there is a new trailer out for, which looks quite impressive, and 300 sequel Rise of an Empire.
Yeah, Legendary Pictures only make big, huge movies, don't they? Well,
yeah,
only involved in big, huge movies.
Well, they did Pacific Rim this week, so I mean, that's an example. You can't get much bigger than that at the moment, I don't think.
Man of Steel they were involved with, and so they don't like small films. They don't like to be involved with small films, and I think that's probably a reason why Universal is a really good fit with them. So I don't think the way Lionsgate has come on over the years, if you look at their back record, they were more involved in horror, and they have started to buy more studios to become much more bigger. But I think Universal is probably a perfect fit for them, considering their scale and their ideas that they have for films.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, my news. The duo behind Texas Chainsaw 3D have announced that they will be remaking George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. Latty Grobman and Christy Campbell's film studio will aim for the remake to be out in 2014. They told LA Times, "Zombie movies are popular right now, and we feel we could do this right. This is not the first time that the film is being remade. A remake came out in 2008, starring Mina Savari and Nick Cannon."
Yeah, okay.
They're remaking every single one of Romero's Dead
Well,
films.
I'm not even a massive fan of them. I have seen... I don't know which ones they are, but I think I've seen Dawn of the Dead.
Night of the Living Dead.
Dawn of the Dead the one in the shopping centre?
That's Dawn of the Dead, yeah.
That's Dawn of the Dead, yeah. And I've seen the last one as well. Well, the last one that was a proper film and not a fake footage one.
Yeah, you've got Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, Diary of the Dead. I think that's right. I think Survival comes after Diary. Yeah, Survival comes after Diary, but that's the Dead series. So I think they're remaking each one of them.
Oh, joy.
Whoopee. According to... Actually, there's a sequel to Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead 2 Contagion. So there was a sequel to it. So that fits in somewhere. I don't know where. Confusing. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Disney are planning a live-action version of The Jungle Book. Justin Marks, who penned the script for Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, has been hired to write the script for the film. No director has been announced yet.
horrendous film. I am not gonna vindicate it with any more comment than that, other than to say move on.
They've got a really good person to do the script there, haven't they?
It's just, why?
I don't know. According to Zachary Quinto, Star Trek 3 could be filmed next year and that J.J. Abrams could be directing. Quinto told the 2013 Galway Film Festival that Star Trek 3 should be filming, I suppose, next year. It's going to be quicker than the last one. That's the plan, although nothing is confirmed. They're trying to aim it to be released in cinemas for 2015.
I saw this too, and I didn't comment on it because of the fact that I don't believe it to actually be physically possible.
No.
J.J. Abrams has yet to start filming on Star Wars 7, Star Wars Episode 7, and that's going to take at least 6 months for pre-production to be finished, then start filming, which is going to take at least 3 months to film, plus then post-production, which is going to take at least another 3 to 6 months just to finish it all off and have it ready to be released. Then whenever they decide to release it, that's not going to be straight away. So you're looking at least a year just for Star Wars Episode 7 to be done and ready to be released, let alone then getting released. And then whenever they start a new Star Trek film, they've got to do some pre-production on that, which is going to be at least 3 months before they'd even start filming. So I don't even see this being possible to start filming before 2016. I'm sorry, but that's just technically not possible for 2014.
You can just imagine the strain on J.J. Abrams. He would just absolutely explode. He'd just literally explode. There'll be nothing left of him.
I wouldn't mind if it was like said that it's going to be done in 2016. I'd go, yeah, that's possible. I can see that happening. 2014, no chance. I would take a bet against that happening at all. It's just no.
It'll be like the Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings fiasco all over again. Like Harry Potter going up against Lord of the Rings, Star Wars going up against Star Trek. Has there ever been a Star Wars and Star Trek released in exactly the same year?
Well, re-release, but not original release, I think. Well, maybe there might have been with the original releases.
I haven't a clue. I'm not going to trail through the release dates.
No.
Johnny Depp, one of my favourite actors at the moment, idiot, is...
It's a bit harsh.
I know. Is in final talks to return for the sequel to Alice in Wonderland, with Muppets director James Bobbin set to helm the film. The news comes after Depp's production company Infinitum, I think it's Infinitum, Nihal, signed a first-look deal with Disney that Depp can produce at the company.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the remake, the first remake. So, to see them really unnecessary, unwanted. Yeah, it'll probably do really well at the box office.
Any film that Depp produces... He'll go to Disney first because they've obviously signed a thing with him. Yeah, so they love him. Well, I don't think they'll love him at the end of The Lone Ranger, considering how much it's bombing at the US box office.
That's true.
Yeah, because it needs to take easily more than 300 million worldwide to start scraping in any kind of profit, and it's not going to do that.
From what I hear, though, that the issues with The Lone Ranger are not down to the acting.
It's probably down to everything, because I've heard from somebody it's terrible. Final piece of news, the Facebook rumours suggested that a new Predator film is set to be announced at this year's Comic-Con. An image cropped up on Facebook with the accompanying text saying, "There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man. We're all going to die."
You gotta say it right, you gotta say, "There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man. We're all gonna die." You gotta do it properly, you know?
No. I can do it psychotically. We're all going to die! Is that better?
No, that sounded more like one of the Minions.
Actually, the psychopathic ones, the infected ones.
No, I'm quite interested in that because I love the Predator series. I have no problem with Predator 2. I really like Predator 2. A lot of people don't, and I liked Predators as well. I've really liked all three of the Predators films. And if they make another one, not Alien versus Predator, obviously, because those were horrendous. But another Predator one, as long as it's same kind of standard, they need to obviously bring something different to it. They can't just keep doing the same thing. But I would go and see that.
Okay.
No.
No.
That's your last piece of news, is it? I think there's another one. Sorry, I miscounted there.
That's it.
Okay. Right, let's go into box office top 10. Starting at number 10 with Behind the Candelabra.
Last week it's going to be in the top 10. Andy's lost his chance out and seen it now.
I have. Well, no, I might. It's still showing, I think, my local this week, and if I get a chance, I'm going to try and see it because I really do want to see it. I've missed it every chance.
You'll not be able to comment on it in next week's show because it's not going to be there.
No,
You're
that's
going to
true.
have to wait for it to come out on Blu-ray and DVD.
I'll see it this week, and then it comes out on DVD, and I'll forget it.
Yep.
At number 9, new entry for Bollywood movie Signam 2.
Which is a sequel to Singnam 1. All I can garner from IMDb, it's about a tough cop. Bollywood film, song, dance, tough cops, whoopee, good mixture.
That's the first of our Bollywood entries to the top 10 this week. The second of which is at number 8, Lutera.
Which, from what I can gather from IMDb, it's a romantic drama with song and dance numbers. At
number 7, new entry as well for The Bling Ring.
Interesting title, isn't it? The Bling Ring. This is based on supposedly a true story about it's directed by Sofia Coppola, and it's just about a group of stuck-up girls who decide to break into famous people's houses to steal items of theirs. We've yet to see this film. Yeah, it doesn't interest us in any way, shape or form. It seems like a major chick flick.
I don't think it's actually showing at my local. I'd probably go and see it. But
it's not shown anywhere near me.
No, it's not, I don't think it's had a massive release as it kind of looks like it maybe deserves. At number 6, This Is the End.
Yeah, it's very self-aware of itself. All the actors in the movie are really patting themselves on the back going, look how funny we are. And it is funny at times. Some of the jokes really do hit, but it's not as funny as a lot of people making it out to be.
And number 5 is Man of Steel.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but that's it. Just thought it was good. It has some real problems in structure. And the final, I would say, hour of it, you really do need to put your fingers in your ears because it is very loud.
I don't have a problem with that. New entry? No, it's not a new entry. That's coming up later. Number 4, however you say it, World War Z.
World War Z. I see the Z.
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 Z. Yeah, World War Z. There's another Despicable Me reference. World War Z is the film, the book that I thought would have been really difficult to turn into a film, but they did an okay job of it. The last half an hour feels completely false from the film. It doesn't feel like it belongs to it, but overall it's not too bad.
I actually went and saw this again the other day because a friend of mine who hadn't seen it called me up and said, I want to go see World War Z, you up for going? I was like, yeah, okay. So I went and saw it again. Z. And he pointed out to me one thing during it, which I kind of... and the thing is, I felt it a lot more this time round than I did the first time. It is incredibly tense at certain points. A lot more so the second time round for me than it was the first time. I don't know why in particular, but... and he pointed out there are a couple of scenes in it where it is kind of white-knuckling moments in it. So it's definitely worth checking out if you're curious, but if you want a zombie film, you're going to be disappointed with it. I don't think you've seen the next one, have you? New entry at number 3 for The Internship.
No, because it just looks like a giant ad for Google.
It does, but it kind of is, but it's not as bad as some reviews have made it out to be. It's surprisingly a lot more fun and genuinely a lot more funny than a lot of comedies I've seen in the last few years. I mean, for a Vince Vaughn film as well, because Vince Vaughn is one of these actors who, in a lot of his comedies, are not necessarily good. This time around, he's quite funny. Owen Wilson is surprisingly funny as well, and it's genuine. I mean, it's predictable in that kind of, this buddy comedy thing. This happens and this happens and this happens, and you know it's going to happen, but it's still fun and enjoyable and entertaining. And the audience I saw it with were having a real good laugh at it. And number 2, also a new entry this week, Now You See Me.
Yeah, which I said last week in my review of it that it's forgettably good. And I stick by that because I'm trying my best to... You will remember it at times, but it is forgettably good. It's not too bad, but you'll just forget the film. It's okay structured. I just felt like the illusions, the more through the film you watch, the less they become spectacle. A spectacle, they actually become a bit mundane, to be honest. But it's not too bad.
I just want to say as well, I thought it was really enjoyable, flowed quite well, worked really well, right up until the last 15-20 minutes, and then there's something happens which, if I say anything more, would be spoilerish, and I was kind of like, oh, what, really? You're going to do that? And it really took me out of it. And number 1, surprise, surprise, Despicable Me 2.
Bottom. Yeah, I got in there before you. Despicable Me 2, it is a funny film. At the cinema that I went to see it in, I actually saw it in 3D, not 2D.
Wow.
So, I know. The cinema I saw it in, all the kids were laughing at the jokes, especially everything to do with the Minions. I find the weakest thing about the film is Gru. Gru and his storyline felt a bit boring at times, and I could sense that from the children in the screening, that the sold out screening that I went to see it in. As soon as the Minions popped up, everybody was in fits of laughter, even including the adults and myself. Especially at the YMCA number as well. I was just dead on the floor with that.
Oh, it wasn't the YMCA number for me. It was the other number at the end of the film that I literally was just. I almost fell over in my chair. Laughing.
It was the lovely romantic song, the way they were sang it, and then they just burst out in YMCA, and there's just you can actually see it on YouTube. It's on YouTube, but I was dead with laughter.
And we're going to take a quick break now, after which we'll have reviews of Pacific Rim, Monsters University and Citadel. If you're listening live in chat and you've seen any of these or have any comments, then send them through to us and we'll have a look at them while we're doing the reviews. So we're back just after this.
Hey folks, it's Al the Bald Gamer Dude from Menage a Geek Podcast, and I'm here to ask you, what do you want in a podcast? Is it talking? Is it funny stuff? Is it two guys and a girl having a chat? Is it video game news? Is it movie news? Is it TV stuff? Is it just geek all out your ears and into your brain? If it is, then why are you not listening to us? We're on Spreaker, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Twitter, all Menage a Geek. Menage a Geek. Listen to us.
So that's Menage a Geek, who, if you have been listening to them, that's Al, who's in charge of them. Al, the Bald Gamer Dude on Twitter. And if you're not listening to them or following him, then get on that now. So let's go on to our first review.
Yeah, me and Andy was just having a slight argument there of whether I can actually give something good here, and I'm thinking I better not. And
I think we should, because it kind of sets up the basis, and you can explain it to do with something. Because it literally is. It's less than 10 minutes in that happens, and that is the opening. So I think that's fine. I'm writing up my review still. I've got to finish it off, just add a few touches to it, and I have mentioned that in the opening of it, and I've said, and that's 10 minutes in. So I don't.
Okay, just in case, if people are slightly annoyed with me because I mentioned it, sue Andy instead of me. Okay.
Let me just justify that and say, okay, it's a 2 hour and 10 minute long film, and this spoiler thing happens in the first 8 minutes. So that's where I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it happens even before the name of the film comes up on the screen.
Yes.
Which actually happens about 15 minutes into the film, and it distracted a lot of people when it did happen. But this is obviously Pacific Rim that we're talking about, and it's directed by Guillermo del Toro. So del Toro's actually went in the directing chair rather than the production chair or the executive producing chair, because he seems to have a lot of projects, but he seems to have very few projects that he's directing. So this is him in the directing chair, and at the opening of the film, the setup of the film, you get a voiceover explaining what's actually happened. You've got these beasts known as the kaiju, which very much like they look a lot like Godzilla and things like you see in the 50s and 60s from Japanese cinema. They've got a very similar kind of feel to it. And you learn that there's this rip in the Pacific where they have been appearing from there. There's these huge, massive, giant robots that are created by, well, every single government in the world have come together to create these robots known as the Jaegers, or Jaegers, depending on how you want to pronounce them. And one of the Jaegers is piloted by Riley, or Raleigh. I call him Riley.
It's Raleigh. It's Raleigh.
Yeah,
it's like the bike. Raleigh. It's like the bike. Yeah. Mate.
One of the Jaegers is called. It's piloted by Raleigh and his brother. They seem to form a mind meld because they are brothers, and that's what has to happen with these huge, massive robots. You have to have both minds where they're very similar to each other, so you can control them, because one of them controls the right side, the other one controls the left side, and so these two brothers are brilliant at taking down these kaijus. And in the first 10 minutes, a big, huge, massive incident happens, which ends up killing Raleigh's brother. It distraughts him, and unfortunately for the Jaeger program, it completely destroys it practically, because government has lost all feeling and thought in it, and they think that the best way to contain these kaijus is building these huge, massive walls. You fast forward a few years later, and you find out that Raleigh is now actually working on one of these walls, but these walls aren't protecting the countries from the kaiju attacks, because they seem to be progressing even more further forward. There seems to be more and more attacks, and the walls can't help them. Riley is then asked to join back into the Jaeger program by Stacker Pentecost, who's played by Idris Elba. He was the leader of the program previously. He's asked to come back and to pilot one of the Jaegers again. Here's a clip.
I believe that kaiju bone powder is $500 a pound. What do you want?
I need to access a kaiju brain. Completely intact.
No. The skull plate is so dense that by the time you drill into it...
The brain's rotted away, but I'm talking about the secondary brain. Now, we both know that the kaiju are so large they need 2 brains to move around like a dinosaur. I want to get my hands on that.
What the hell do you want a secondary brain for anyway? I mean, every part of the kaiju cells. Cartilage, spleen, liver. Even the crap. But the brain? Too much ammonia.
So what's the deal, little fella?
Well, that's classified. So I couldn't tell you, even if I wanted to. But it is pretty cool.
Go on, you spotted an inaccuracy, didn't you?
It's just the whole thing of left hemisphere and right hemisphere controlling... In human bodies, the left hemisphere doesn't control the left side of the body. The left hemisphere controls the right side of the body, and vice versa with the right. But that's a little niggle.
Yeah, so thanks for that. This is Tomorrow's World, not the Monday movie show. Or the other way around, depending on... I'm lost, right? So Raleigh has to repilot his old Jaeger, which is called Gypsy, but he hasn't obviously got somebody to pilot it with him. They're a huge, massive sort of like... I was really tempted to see something, but I'm not going to see it. They try to find out the person who's suitable for him. It could be Miyako, who's played by Rinko Kikuchi.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so she seems to be the right candidate for him. And they need to try and team up with the rest of the Jaegers to try and stop the kaiju attack, because it seems to be progressing even worse. In the clip there, you heard Charlie Day, who plays one of the scientists, along with Bern Gorman, who they add sort of like the comic kind of stuff to the film itself. And at times they do. It alleviates, obviously, the big, huge, massive robots versus monsters action. The first thing I have to say about Pacific Rim, the scale of this movie is huge.
Yeah.
It's absolutely... I've never seen a film on this scale. You look at Transformers, and it makes Transformers look tiny. The way it flows as well. It flows with such grace. You have got a period of the film where it is just about all the training and things like that. But that sort of like calms you down a little bit until you get to the huge, massive set pieces. So it isn't just constant set pieces. You have got areas of the film where you can calm down a little bit. And honestly, the spectacle of this movie, I really want to see it in IMAX. So I want to see it on the biggest way possible. But the closest IMAX screen to me, it would cost me about £20 to see it in IMAX. So too much for me. But the size of the spectacle is really huge. The other thing that was in my mind while I was watching this, I was thinking, this feels like it's a cross between Godzilla versus Power Rangers at times. Now, that sounds really bad, saying Power Rangers, because I despise the Power Rangers. They're just rubbish. But the way it
Go
flowed,
Power Rangers! Sorry.
Please don't. The way it flowed, it did feel like Power Rangers, but honestly, with what's happening on screen, you just completely forget all of that stuff. It's not fully brain dead. There are elements of the film where you think, oh, really, and all that stuff, but it's not as fully brain dead as a lot of people say it is, but it's still a really good, entertaining popcorn film. That's what I was looking for in this movie. I was looking for a film that was there to entertain, that was a huge, massive spectacle, and that's what it is. Guillermo del Toro has managed to do what Michael Bay couldn't do in 3 films. Even though the first Transformers film is really good, Guillermo del Toro has managed to out-trump him by just 1 film over Michael Bay's 3, soon to be 4 films. So it shows you how brilliant of a director Guillermo del Toro is. There are faults in the film. You can pick problems with the film itself. But just go in there expecting a huge, massive popcorn film, and that's what you'll get.
I'm just going to add as well, because I think it's amazing, and it's rare you and I agree on films, but I agree with you on this. I love this film, and it's clear that Guillermo del Toro has a love for those Godzilla movies, and he's put that into this film. He's put that in the way when the Jaegers are fighting the kaiju, it's really enjoyable and it's really relatable to it. And it's not, like you're saying, it's not brain dead. There is sort of emotion to it. There's a whole thing as well. There's a sequence involving a flashback, one of the characters, which is quite tense.
I love the flashback scenes, the way that you go into their memories as well. I love the way that was shot.
And there's the thing as well that I will say, it's a 12. There's not any, because it's not like Transformers. There's none of the leery sexual content in there, so that if you're worried about taking to see someone under the age of 12 to see this, you think they might want to see it, but you're worried about that. There is none of that leeriness that Michael Bay brought to the Transformers films. There's none of the inappropriate humour really throughout it. And there is though a couple of moments where it is, like I said, quite tense because of the fact it's a very loud film. And there's a moment where there's a kaiju attacking and it's very up close. And there's a scene, when I saw it, I've seen it twice now, and the second time I saw it, at that point, actually someone walked out with their kid because the kid was quite scared of it. And unfortunately for them, they walked out and they didn't come back. So the kid must have been really put off by that scene. But aside from that, it's perfect. I mean, I wouldn't say take someone who's really young into it, but if they really are sort of hard into this sort of thing, because they will love it. And then 9, 10, obviously up to 12, at which point they can go and see it themselves. If you're not sure, obviously go and see it first. And if you then think, because I've known people who've gone and seen that and they go, yeah, okay, I think my kid will be fine seeing that. And they take the kid and the kids loved it.
One quick thing before you go on to Monsters University. Do you know how he actually came up with the idea for Pacific Rim? Guillermo del Toro. I don't, but I know he wasn't he didn't start out the script. He wrote the script, he worked on the script, but the script was originally written by Travis Beecham, I think it was, who had the original bit. But what did he do to it? Well, Guillermo del Toro had the original idea. He went to the cinema in Japan to watch one of these Godzilla-esque kind of films, and he stayed so long to the end, he was pelted by a bottle of wee. He came up with the idea while actually seeing the film in a cinema in Japan, while watching a Godzilla film, and he thought this is a brilliant idea. But honestly, he stayed too long. He was actually pelted with a bottle of wee in the cinema, and his ideas came forth with Pacific Rim.
Oh,
it's a strange way to come up with an idea for a film.
I wouldn't admit to that, really, not in public.
I just found that interesting myself.
Monsters University, which is the follow-up prequel to Monsters Inc. It's directed by Dan Scanlon. It's got back in there as voices. You've got Billy Crystal as Mike Wazowski and John Goodman as James Sullivan, playing the younger versions of themselves as they actually go to Monsters University. They both want to be scarers after different things. I mean, Sully is his family, his line of his father and everyone before that has been a scarer. Mike was actually at the factory where they do the scaring, and he on a school trip he ended up going through one of the doors into the human world, seeing it all happening and falling in love with being involved in it. And the two of them, through the different methods, end up going to Monsters University to learn to be scarers, and end up becoming roommates sort of, but not necessarily friends. Neither of them really likes each other. One thing that happens though, they're in this scaring class. They're kind of both failing through different ways. Mike's very good with the knowledge of it all. Sully's very good at the scaring, but doesn't know the knowledge. And the two of them end up having to join a house so they can then enter into a scare competition to win themselves back a place on this scare class. So they end up joining this house. They get into the house, and then one night, once they're there, they hear these strange noises, and they're sort of following these noises down to the basement. Here's a clip.
Hello? Fellas?
Do you pledge your souls to the Uzma Kappa Brotherhood?
Ow!
Do you swear to keep secret all that you learn here?
No matter how horrifying!
Hey!
Will you take the sacred oath of the snow?
For crying out loud!
Sweetie, turn the lights on while you're down here. You're going to ruin your eyes.
Mom, we're doing an initiation.
Oh, scary. Well, carry on. Just pretend I'm not here.
This is my mom's house. Do you promise to look out for your brothers? No matter what the peril. Will you defend Uzma Kappa, no matter how dangerous?
Booger in the live chat has just said, so like 21 Jump Street, the animated version. Not quite, but there is something to that, I think. But the thing is that then after that they join Monster University, they get involved in that, and they start then becoming a team and getting into the whole thing of yep.
Sorry to butt in. It's more like Harry Potter.
I don't know. But
I think it's more in common with Harry Potter than the 21 Jump Street.
Okay, yeah, but it's got a lot of the cast back in. I mean, as I said, I've got Billy Crystal, John Goodman there, Steve Buscemi is back, Helen Mirren is in the cast as well as the dean of the university, and the thing is, the problem is, it's not especially funny. It's lacking that Pixar magic that we were talking about recently, and things like Brave was lacking as well. Pixar seems to have really lost their footing recently with their films. It's kind of soulless. I think I laughed maybe once or twice, and not even a big laugh during it. And I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, when is this going to start getting as fun and funny as the first film was? And it just doesn't do that. It doesn't engage on that level. There were kids watching it, and you saw the kids. I mean, in the screening I was in, there were kids there, and one of them at one point actually got scared and started shouting out like, "No, don't go, don't do this," and talking to the characters on the screen and saying, "No, don't do this." But then after that, they were quiet. But then the other kids were sort of, every now and again, they'd be a bit in it when they were looking bored. They didn't follow it, and I kind of started understanding why, because it's not funny. It doesn't have the laughs at all. It doesn't have the qualities of the first film, which is just a shame because there's so much potential there. It just seems that they've really dropped the ball, and I'm surprised that, I have to say, the two, this and Despicable Me 2, which I expected that Monsters University would have been the better. It's not. Despicable Me 2 really beats the proverbial backside of Monsters University. It really shouldn't, and it does.
Considering that both of them are rated U as well.
Yeah, it's just really. I mean, there's none of that. It doesn't even need to be very adult humor, but there's none of the humor in there that appeals to adults that the first one had. There's none of that. There's none of the quick pacing to it. It feels very slow as well. It feels dragged. It's not quite 2 hours long, but it's a longer film. It's quite a long film. It's an hour and 40 minutes or something, I think. So it's unnecessarily longer than it needs to be, and it's in desperate need of some laughs.
The only sequence for me that sort of slightly impressed me was when Mike and Sully went to the human world, and it was in that the sort of very creepy Friday the 13th cabin kind of thing.
Yeah, that wasn't bad, but it's still...
And they had to scare the adults to try and reopen the portal to get back. And I thought that was actually handled really well, and there was ideas in that where I was thinking, this, if they made it a PG and went a little bit more with the formula with this bit here, it might have been a much more interesting film. But I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's got no charm.
There's no charm. There's none of the magic. There's none of the action of the first one as well. Because in the first one, you had the sequence where they're on the doors in the factory and they're chasing through it. That's an amazing sequence to watch, and it's it gets your pulse going. And there's no pulse to this film. There really isn't.
It's like getting a bottle of juice and then you're drinking it and it just tastes of water. So instead of it tasting like a vibrant tropical fruit juice, you've just got a taste of water.
You've just given me a brilliant analogy for it. Monsters Inc. is Coke. Monsters University is Diet Coke.
I like Diet Coke. I drink Diet Coke.
I hate Diet Coke. It tastes hollow to me. It's like drinking air. It's horrible.
I love drinking air though. It's awesome. But that's a bad analogy in my opinion.
It's a great analogy.
Mine's slightly better. But I honestly, this is proving to me that Pixar has lost the plot slightly, because early word from Planes as well is showing that's not very good as well.
It's not even that. Not even just Monsters University. That you get, as with all Pixar films, you get a short before this, and this is one called The Blue Umbrella, and it's just, honestly, I sat there, I'm like, what have they done? I hope that Monsters University is better than this, and it was better than that, but not by much.
So I'm right with saying that Studio Ghibli is the best animated studio in the world. Haha. I get to prove that as well in a couple of weeks' time.
No. No, I'm not. I'm not accepting that. We're not having that discussion now, anyway. But it's odd.
I think it is.
It's odd though. The two films we reviewed so far, and we agree on both. That's kind of worrying.
Next film up then is final film up is Citadel. It's a small little Irish film directed by Kieran Foy, and it stars Aaron Bernard, who plays Tommy at the start of the film. Him and his wife are trying to move out this huge, massive, dilapidated apartment block. She gets attacked by this faceless figures. She ends up dying, but the baby that she's carrying survives, and so Tommy has to look after the baby. Unfortunately, Tommy gets this agoraphobia where he's stuck in the house. He's scared of absolutely everything. He just can't find a way of getting out. If he does manage to get out of the house, he seems to look around a lot, being really scared. He's very nervous. He's very tense. He's befriended by a nurse who looked after his wife. She tries to help him get out of the state he's in. He's also told about this priest who can help him out because these faceless figures, seem to want to kidnap his daughter for some reason. Here's a clip.
You want to know why they're after you? Because you fear them. You fear them. They see it. They can see fear, sense it, smell it. Otherwise, they're mostly blind to everything else. What are you talking about? Fear. It's what they're born into, what attracts them to the victims. They thrive on it and they draw it out, and it's your fear they're attracted to.
And so, as you heard in that clip, the priest character, he's just telling Tommy about the fact that these figures can sense your fear. So if you're scared, it's a bit like After Earth.
Yeah, I actually was thinking that the same when I watched it. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, and it's honestly a better thought out idea than After Earth.
Yeah, because I haven't seen After Earth yet, but it is a bit like After Earth where
you're right with that connection, yeah.
They can sense fear. Now, the thing with Citadel is it's a small little film, so don't expect anything on a big, massive scale. It's a small little Irish film, and for what it is, it's not too bad. It's nicely shot with the grimy, dilapidated look. The places where the director has chosen to shoot the film is actually really well thought out. There's a house where Tommy stays in, and he is actually attacked by the figures, and you do feel the fact that he is scared, that everything around him is just there to terrify him, and it works on that level. It's not a bad film. There is very little tension in the movie. In the last 20-25 minutes, that's where the most tension is built up, when he finds himself in this huge, massive apartment block with the priest character to try and find his baby. That's when it sort of like builds up the darkness and tension there. With the rest of the film, you're just there to try and feel sorry for Tommy, because you need to feel sorry for his character, the plight that he's going through with him having this agoraphobia. You just want him to get over it. But it's not too bad for a small little horror film that it is. Small little thriller. It's more of a thriller rather than a horror. It sort of.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, I saw it and I don't like horror as much, but this was okay. And the thing is that I liked about it is the ideas in it, the idea behind it, of these creatures and where they come from, as it's explained in the movie. And the one thing I did have an issue with is that it's a 90-minute film, and yet the first half an hour for me took a very long time to get going. After that that initial half hour, it then started to pick up some traction and things started to happen. And I found that was it kept going really well. It never sort of slowed and bored at any point, and it ran through to a suitable small film ending. And I thought it was quite good. And like you said as well, with the whole thing of After Earth, this has the same similar idea as a basis, a part of it, and it works out a lot better in this. It fits it a lot more and makes more sense. So I agree with you on that. Yeah,
I think that idea works much more better on a smaller scale in the horror environment rather than on a big, huge, massive blockbuster kind of film. So you need to have a film where it's tense, and if you've got a big blockbuster kind of movie, you're not going to go with small closed-in areas. You're going to go with huge, massive, vast open areas, and tension doesn't work on that kind of front. So with fear, it needs to work with films like Citadel. It works better with that kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, one thing as well I'd say is what did you think of the sound? I thought the sound design on it was very good. The sound effects of the creature in particular was really creepy and well mixed.
Again, with Fear, it has to build on sound. It has to work with sound, so you can have grating noises in there. In some films, if you heard like a screech or something, it might put you off. But in a film where it works with Fear, where it's trying to install fear in yourself as well as the characters on screen, it needs to have that kind of sound to it.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for the first half of tonight's show, the cinema section. Hang around for a moment on Twitter on Spreaker. I'm getting things completely
live
wrong.
stream on Twitter.
Live stream on Twitter, yes. Thank
Don't
you.
give them that idea. They've already got things like Vine, so they'll probably come up with that idea as well. They want to take podcasts away from Apple.
Yeah. Stick around on Spreaker if you're listening live. Refresh your page in a couple of minutes. We'll be back with this week's DVD and Blu-ray releases.